what we'll do right off the bat here is we'll go and open up our next work file. So go ahead and choose File, Open, or double click on your gray background. And inside your work files folder, you'll find a file called selections.psd. Go ahead and grab this fella and click on Open. I've got to take a moment and explain what we're looking at here. I was out in the garage not too long ago, and I found this box filled with these old rusty washers and nuts and bolts and all these old rusted parts. I don't even know where I got them from. I guess I must have found them and thought they were cool, and I threw them in my garage, and then I forgot about them. So anyway, cleaning out the garage, found them, and I thought, hey, this would be a really great way to illustrate how selections work inside Photoshop. So obviously you can see we have a lot of different shapes available here that we can work with the selection tools inside Photoshop. And the idea here is that we're going to take all these rusty old bolts and washers and screws and everything else that we have here, and we're going to make a mechanical face. It's going to be pretty cool stuff. So in terms of the file setup, what I'd like you to do is we need to increase our canvas size. Remember that imageable area inside our document. So do me a favor and tap the D key on your keyboard. That might be kind of a strange request, but what that does is that sets your foreground and background colors back to their defaults. And I just want to make sure that we're both at the same place. So in other words, tapping D on your keyboard will ensure that black is in the foreground and white is in the background. Next, let's go and increase our canvas size. Now, do you remember where to go to grab your canvas size dialog box? It's underneath the image menu, right? Now, do you remember the keyboard shortcut? Command Option C or Control Alt C. Okay, so head into your canvas size dialog box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to pixels for my unit of measurement. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set my anchor point to the top left corner, right there. And I'm also going to increase my width, the width of the canvas, to 4,000 pixels. Go ahead and click on OK. And now, if I zoom out here, we have lots and lots of space now on the right-hand side of our document to create this mechanical face. Now, as far as selections are concerned inside Photoshop, there are a couple of quick points I want to make before we actually start working on our mechanical face. Now, first of all, your ability to create accurate selections inside Photoshop is critical. And I will say that it does take practice. Don't expect to be amazing at creating selections right off the bat. It does take a little bit of time to get good at it. But the better your selections are that you create inside Photoshop, the better your work is going to turn out. And selections, I would say, are one of the main tenets inside Photoshop, one of the most important aspects of Photoshop, because we're going to use selections a lot, whether it's correcting an image, color correcting an image, or perhaps applying a special effect, or maybe there's a specific area of our image that we want to work on. Well, all of these issues mean that we're going to have to create an accurate selection first before we begin our work. Okay, so that's why I want to basically run you through the selection gauntlet with all of these crazy rusty parts. Okay, so hopefully by the end of all this, you'll be really good at creating selections. We have, generally anyway, two different kinds of selections that we can work with inside Photoshop. We have shape-based selections, in other words, circles, squares, ovals, things like that, right? Polygons. And the other kind of selection that we can work with inside Photoshop are color-based selections. In other words, select all the reds, or select all the blues, or perhaps all of the solid yellows, or perhaps anything from solid yellow all the way into the oranges, something like that, right? So we have color-based selections as well, which we'll get into in just a little while.